Hello and welcome back. You know, a lot of YouTubers say welcome or welcome back, and I don't know, just hello. How are you doing today? We're going to be talking about the stash updates, the news, and all good things on this week's episode of Off the Hook Crochet Podcast. But my vibe check, this week feels like when you get gauge on a project, but by the time you've gotten gauge, you've sort of lost the motivation. That's kind of how I feel this week. So it's kind of weird because I got a lot of progress and it feels kind of weird because I made a lot of progress, but overall, I don't know, there's just something that I'm not quite in the vibe, I guess. That's kind of what goes with it. So let's just dive in. Talk about all the good stuff. Okay, it's warm and I'm wearing a sweater, which I'll talk about shortly. But that means I may take it off eventually, but we'll keep it on for the moment. Let's update some news in the yarn and crochet world. The first bit of news I want to share is my knit picks news. So if you saw my video from Tuesday and my podcast episode from last week, you saw that there is some rumors, we're going to leave it at rumors, some allegations that there have been bugs in the knit picks / we crochet yarn. I say / because even though they're different websites, they are essentially the same business. They ship from the same place. Everything is the same. They just have different websites. That is the only thing that is different between the two of them. I did a video on Tuesday. You can check that out right here. That shows my recent we crochet yarn haul. I don't know why I had a hard time saying that. I didn't have any bugs in it. I've seen lots of comments on that post. Other people don't have bugs either. So I don't know if it was just a one-off case or I've seen no photographic evidence. Maybe the bugs came from somewhere else. Always do your own due diligence and check anything that comes in, whether it comes from Knit Picks or Walmart or wherever, just some random place. It's always good to do your due diligence and check first before you sort of, it's kind of like if you've ever adopted a pet from a rescue, you have to sort of quarantine them for a little bit before you introduce them to your other pets because you don't know if they're bringing in something or if your other pets have something. So it's always just good business to kind of quarantine and make sure that your yarn is safe. So that was the first bit of news. The next bit of news, I want to share something that's a little bit of I want to share something that is a little exciting. And if you're familiar with Jess Compum from Make and Do Crew, she's the one that designs the Cleo fedora. She's also really famous. Her other really famous pattern is the campfire cardigan. I did a video featuring a lot of her different designs. I'll link that right here for you. And she recently started a new Yarny community. This community is on a platform that's not Facebook. It is not social media. It's not a platform that you would probably be familiar with. So it's kind of completely new. And that means that you don't have to worry about algorithms. You don't have to be one of those, well, I hate being on Facebook. I never see the posts anyway. And while it is her community, she is really proactive about saying, talk about other people's patterns too. You do not have to make this all about my patterns. I've been on some crochet communities for designers where they only wanted you talking about their designs and their patterns. Jess is not that way. She's like, let's make this a great place to just get together and talk about all things crochet related and really build and foster a great community. This community just launched this week, so it is brand spanking new. Now, I was selected as one of the community leaders, so I get to participate on a really deeper level and really be involved and see some of the stuff behind the scenes. And I'm so excited about this community. I did this video, again, linked here, a while back about whether or not joining an online community was going to be beneficial for you in your crochet business. And so I really, or not business, just you and your crochet. I really encourage you to check that out and make that sort of decision. But if you're looking for that kind of online community where you can do a crochet and chat, or you can post your favorite whips, or you can ask questions about yarn, then this is going to be a great community to do that. She's building something that if I had done it, I would have built myself. I'll make sure to link the access to that group in the notes below so that you can go check it out yourself. Come say hi. I'd love to see you there, and we'll just make some crochet magic. I think that sounds amazing. Okay, next up, all right, it's time for the whips. Let's talk about what I am working on right now. The first thing, yes, the granny square blanket is still sitting there. I've had so many other projects that have just been taking my focus. And to be honest, I haven't actually gone anywhere where I needed to have that easily portable project that I could just throw in my bag and go. And in fact, one of my whips that I'm working on right now has served for that purpose. So it's still there. I'm still working on it. I have not made any progress whatsoever. Next, the black denim jacket. This is kind of, I have to say that one of the most challenging things of doing these denim jackets, like most people think, oh, well, you just attach the sleeves. That's the hard part. Nope. I mean, if I'm just doing granny square sleeves or granny stitch sleeves all the way around, like I did with the sweatshirt, then yeah, that's a no-brainer. And then I can attach a cuff or whatever. But I really want these to have a unique artistic flair and be something that isn't just throw it on and wear it every day, but more of a statement piece. So I've really struggled with the concept of making these statement pieces because the vision that I have in my head does not always work out in the yarn world. So here's where we are. This is one of the sleeves. I've attached the other sleeve, and what I've been struggling with is what I was going to do with the cuff. So first I just did this black border around it, and again, I kind of wanted something that was a little bit more snug. So that did not work for me. Oh my gosh, I have to get this sweater off. I'll tell you all about it. But, we're gonna put you over there for now. Okay. Uh-oh. There is Velcro on this bag. And I just caught the... Oh, that's bad. Okay. Whew. All right. We'll have to do something about that. So I did this border around, and it doesn't give it enough wow. There's not enough pizzazz there. So I wanted to do a fatter border, but I am very limited in the yarn that I have, this black yarn. I don't have enough to do 2 larger cuffs. So my predicament was, what do I do about that? And in sort of the 3 o'clock in the morning, not being able to sleep, trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do, I came up with a new concept. The concept that I needed for this, though, is I needed a really dark charcoal, like almost black, but not black. Because if it's black, it was going to be too shiny. Because if we look at the jacket is almost kind of a faded black. And so I did not want something that was bright, shiny black. That was going to be too much of a contrast. And I found in my yarn stash this leftover skein that somebody had given me, this Lamb's Pride. This is probably ancient, but it's a bulky, so it's too thick, and there wouldn't have been enough anyway, but this is the perfect colorway. I'm like, this is the color I want. If you look, this is a perfect color match, and I think that it will look fabulous with these sleeves. So I needed to find this color. And yeah, and so I'm like struggling. So I go to Michael's. I find nothing. Like I needed the yarn to be a DK or thinner in order to really accomplish what I want to accomplish. And most of the bigger craft stores, chain craft stores, do not carry a wide selection of thinner weight yarns. Worsted and above, they have plenty of. DK and below, very minimal quantity. However, the problem that I had is if I tried to order it online, I'm not sure that I'm getting the right color and the right texture. I've actually found a Lion brand that was the perfect colorway, but it was actually, I think, I don't remember if it was a DK, might have been a worsted, but it was too fuzzy. It was just a little too fuzzy, and that's not what I was going for. So I went shopping, and after Michael's and coming up with nothing, I went to Hobby Lobby, and I got some gray. And yes, there is one black in here because, one of the things I liked about this gray is that it feels like there's white in there, so it doesn't feel like it's solid, like one color. And I was really looking for something that had more tonality in it. I did find this one, which does have a little bit of tonality, just a hint. It feels like there's some lighter grays in there. But this is a worsted, and it feels kind of like a pretty low-end, I'm not impressed kind of worsted. I mean, it's fine for most projects, but I'm trying to elevate this a little bit. So while this sort of fit the bill color-wise, it just wasn't the vibe I'm going with. I'm going to still test it out, but right now I'm like, yeah, not sure here. Okay. Then I found this one, which I think this is the Soft Secret, which is similar to the Karen Simply Soft. I think they're pretty much the same, probably just a different label. And I love the Karen Simply Soft because it is simply soft. However, again, this is a worsted weight, although this one feels a little bit thinner than the other one. The gray is perfect, but again, there's no sort of tonality to it, so it's just kind of, it's just gray. So it's an option. I also have this Pearl Spun, which is, again, a worsted weight. I had to try worsted weights because 90% of what they had is worsted weight. It is these are all acrylic, and this is a different sort of texture, so I thought maybe this might be a an option to work up, and we'll see what it's like, just because it is a different texture overall. We'll see. I mean, these are hitting the bill color-wise, although they don't have the rich sort of tone that I would like. And then I went with the Soft and Sleek DK, which I have some white of this, and the white I would say is actually probably closer to a sport weight. This is probably maybe you know what? I'm going to get my gauge and check. Hold on. Okay, so here's the white, and if I put the white on my little handy dandy gauge, yeah, it comes up as a sport weight. I don't know if you can see this. I'll try and kind of hold that up and zoom that in for you. So this one is definitely more of a sport weight. The white is. Let's try the black. I feel like the black actually probably is more DK. Yep. For sure. So the black definitely comes in as the DK level. So my thought process was, I also got this lighter gray, which this says it is a sport weight. Let's measure that and see what it says, because yeah, I would say that's a sport weight. So my thought was maybe I would do the two of them together, but again, this is such a thicker one. Then I'm back into the worsted, and I didn't want to be worsted. I really wanted a black of the sport weight so I could do two sport weights and maybe I'd be okay. Or maybe if I have enough black fingering, I might have enough black fingering. Debatable. And just sort of pairing these together so that I get some variation in the color. So I have the concept in my head, and what I'm thinking is I'm going to do sort of a wider cuff, and then I'm going to add a ribbon to the cuff, and then do a little bow, so it will sort of offset, and I'm not sure which color yet I'm going to do. But then if they wanted the cuff to be tighter, they certainly could tie the ribbon tighter, but if they're okay with it being a little bit more loose, then the ribbon just serves as a decorative element overall. That's sort of the project that I am working on with that one at the moment, and just sort of testing everything. I am going back and forth. I am still warm, but I'm not feeling very comfortable with just this tank top on. So we're going to put the sweater back on, even though right now it is a little on the warm side in this space. So yeah, okay. So that is the progress on the black denim. In the meantime, because I've been working on, I was sort of in a holding pattern until I could get to the yarn store, see what they had available, kind of do some investigation. I went ahead and I started on I'm calling this one the Southwest. This one has the nice riveting on it, and I am doing let me move this. I've got so much stuff in here. I'm moving everything around from space to space. This is also a Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn, but I just love the colorway on this, and I thought that it looked absolutely stunning with the rivets to give that sort of Southwest vibe. So I am working on this one, and I love the stitch pattern that I've got. This is called the Zigzag Block, and I think it really kind of gives that sort of Southwesty vibe a little bit. The challenge that I had was because I have the pattern or the stitch pattern instructions, but what it lacks it tells you how to do increases and decreases. It does not tell me how to do increases and decreases in the round. And I really, like, even when I was doing it, I just didn't feel like if I tried to do it flat and then stitch it, I wasn't feeling like it just wasn't working out. So I've frogged this probably 5 times now, and I am at least happy with where I am kind of right now. So I just have to make sure that whatever I do on this one, I write it down and document it so that I can do it on the other sleeve. So I have 2 matching sleeves that decrease at the same pace instead of just randomly. So that is the goal. I am slowly working on this one. It does take a little bit more brain power, so I'm kind of working on it during the day when I'm just sitting at my desk and doing some things like that. Okay, so those are the 2 denim jackets that I have working on at the moment. The other project that I have that I had just cast on, stitched on, chained on, whatever you want to call it, last week this is now being called the Frankenstein Sweet Summer Tea. And the reason I'm calling it the Frankenstein is because I have modified the pattern enough, because I'm using a fingering weight yarn and the pattern called for a DK. So I'm having to modify as far as the size goes, but I'm also going to try and do a collar, which is not part of the pattern. So I'm actually kind of pulling from a different pattern to try and do a collar. Now I finished this shoulder, and I am at the point where I have to start this shoulder, and then I got to do the whole back. But this is a super quick workup, and I got to tell you, I love this yarn. So far, I mean, I hope it wears as nicely as it is to work with. It is definitely not the softest yarn to work with. It is a linen cotton viscous blend. It's Hobbie's new Rococo, and I just think it's stunning. It is soft, but because it's linen, it's actually supposed to get softer the more you use it, the more you wash it, all of that good stuff. So, but I love the color pattern. I think it's stunning, and I'm really excited. I think this is going to be one of my regular everyday wear kind of items. So that is the other whip that I am actively working on at the moment. All right. What did I finish? Well, I finally finished this dang cardigan, and I gotta tell you, the review for the True Boo is coming out next week. Spoiler alert. I'm probably not going to be using it again. Watch the review for all of my feedback. I'm happy with the cardigan for what I wanted, and that was to have a nice, soft, comfy cardigan that I could wear around the house, because when the air conditioning turns on, it gets really cold, and I hate that sort of temperature variation, so I just needed something I could throw on and wear around the house, and that's all I meant it for, and for that, it is perfectly acceptable. But watch the review to get all of my other feedback, especially feedback on this yarn, and whether or not you might want to consider or not consider using this yarn in your next projects. So, yeah. All right. Drink break. So the yarn that I used this week, this is my stash down update. The yarn that I used this week, I finally can count the True Boo. I ended up using 530 grams of the True Boo. I did go shopping for yarn. All of that black yarn or charcoal grayish yarn from Hobby Lobby amounted to 639 grams. And the We Crochet yarn that I purchased, that you can see the bug video, That was about 600 grams. So I at this point have more yarn than I'm using. Yarny acquisitions. These are things that I purchased related to crochet and my crochet business, but are not specifically yarn related. I did get the ribbon that I showed you, and then my husband and I were near a Goodwill in a very high-end part of town. So I thought, oh, well, they probably have some really great brands in there. Let me go in and check it out. And they did have some great brands, but if you've seen some of these recent Goodwill videos about Goodwill charging obscene prices for things, the videos are not wrong. I saw used denim jackets priced at $50. Like, obscene amount for a used denim jacket. Now, granted, it was an Anne Klein? Farrah. Yes, thank you. That's not what I'm going for. I mean, I found Anne Klein and whatever jackets at my other Goodwill for $20. So clearly they knew that because it was a higher end part of town, they could charge more. I'm not down for that. This is not what I'm, yeah. So I'll just keep looking. I have plenty of jackets, but I did find a couple. One, let's see what I've got here. Now, I have no idea what brand this is, which is interesting, but it's actually reversible. So I'm not sure whether I'm going to do the snakeskin side, or maybe I'll just make it so that I can reverse it, and whatever I use works for both sides. And so it's got the really faded black. I don't know. I always gravitate towards black, black and white, and all kinds of different things. So this one was only $12.99. I have no idea what the brand is. I'm not even sure, because it's reversible, where I would look for the brand. And the only thing that I did find wrong with this one is that on this sleeve it is missing the button. But if I don't put the sleeves back on, that's not a problem. So there you go. I'm not going to use the sleeve, so it's not an issue. So that's another one that I have purchased to transform and make over. And then I thought, you know what? It might be fun to transform something else as well. And I found this one, and I have no idea if this is a good brand or not. Caslon, it probably isn't. Probably just inexpensive. But it's just an opportunity for me to kind of play around and do some different things. So this is a much lighter weight, sort of, I don't know if it's a shirt or a jacket or what you would call this. It definitely has the snaps on it. Kind of a tunic type jacket. I think there are some adorable elements to this, and I could totally make this over with the thinner weight yarns that I tend to really like more than the heavier yarns. And I think it's a stunning color, and there's some good options for this. So this might be a fun one to make over and just kind of see and explore some different things. So what do you think? Yes? We'll see. Are you excited to see what I come up with for these? I don't know. I'm kind of excited. I am enjoying this whole process. Now, one of the things I finally caved and did is ordered business cards. I have had so many people ask me, what is, do you sell those? Do you, do you make that? And so finally I just said, you know what? I can go on to one of these websites, whether it's Vistaprint or GotPrints. There's so many of them out there. You can just pick one. You can order 100 business cards and get them for $20 shipped to you. So I did that. They're supposed to arrive on Monday. And I also because I've got the advantage of, I use Canva, and I have a little bit of a graphic artist background. I've done a lot of graphic arts in my previous sort of career. So I also created these little hanging product tags, and I know you can't read any of that because the print is so small. But, you know, it's got my brand name, it's got a little tagline, it's got all my social medias. It has a note that I will write on the back what the yarn material is made out of, and some care instructions, that kind of thing. So just the basic stuff that I will basically, you know, tie with a little twine to some spot on the garment so that it has a branded tag on it. So if I go to sell these in a boutique or anywhere else, it's got my brand on there. So that was my thought on that. And these were pretty easy to make, but then I had to cut them out by hand. And I'm totally fine with that. It kind of just gives it a little more of that custom homemade feel. All right, let's talk a little bit about life. Shoulder's doing a little bit better. I have graduated from PT, working on my own on that. It's okay. I'm not thrilled with it right now, but we're going to keep working on it. My weight, I know I did an update a couple weeks ago that I did really well and I'd lost 10 pounds. Well, I've gained about 2.5 of those pounds back. So, hello, something's going in the wrong direction here. And I need to get refocused on that. I will be heading to Flagstaff for just a couple of days. Flagstaff is here in Arizona, but it's up in the pines in the mountains, so it's much cooler. So I just wanted to get out of the heat, and my mother-in-law is up there, so we're going to go say hi to my mother-in-law. And they have a knitting group, and I am constantly being asked to come join them for their knitting group. So I will go up there and do some crochet with the gang. And oh yes, here's my recent crocheting in the wild. Husband and I had the day out, and so we had to stop and grab a bite to eat, and so I decided to have an old-fashioned and do a little crocheting in the bar. So hopefully you get a good kick out of that one. All right, I think that about wraps it up for today. I hope you enjoyed this content. I love making these update videos, the podcasts. They are probably my favorite ones to do. And, but I'll also keep making other videos that I know are really valuable content for you guys. So let me know what you want to see in the notes below in the comments. The one thing I probably won't get into doing too much is tutorials on specific patterns or stitches, because I just don't think that's my zone of genius, and I really want to stay in what I'm good at doing. I will be bringing more videos about crocheting up different yarns and showing you what the stitch pattern looks like, because I know that there are videos or there are photos and things like that on what a certain yarn looks like if it is knitted, but there are not a lot of resources to find out what yarns look like when they are crocheted. So I think I'm going to start doing a series like that where I'm sharing yarns that are in my stash and crocheting them up in little swatches with single crochets and double crochets, so you at least get a little bit of a sense of what that yarn looks like when it's worked up in crochet. If that's something that you're interested in, make sure to say, oh my gosh, totally, Nicole, I would love those kind of videos, and let me know in the comments below. Hey Farah, it's time to get out of here.